Hey, what's up everyone, it's Crypto back at it with another video for today, and as you can tell by this lovely new creature, we will be going over the brand new god, Cernunnos. In this video we'll talk about his abilities, what roles he can be good for, and pretty much a build, I guess you could say, that I've tested out, a couple of them, and I'll tell you guys what I personally think so far about this god. And with that, let's jump right on in. So first things first, we'll be going over his passive. So basically, his one here is just a glaive, basically. It's cool, you know, very cool looking auto attacks here. It's kind of weird how he shoots it, honestly. It's like an underhand, right-hand throw, but it looks really cool. But basically, what this ability does, this ability is a glaive to minions that are around him, as you can see here. You hit the other minions to his left and right at the same time as hitting the one in front of it. And that's really cool because if you think about it, this is good for the jungle, obviously, because in dual lane, you don't really get too many buffs to clear. You mainly just get the purple buff or maybe even damage. So, I mean, getting that glaive effect, honestly, is pretty cool. And in terms of jungling, this will definitely benefit him a lot more, especially early on, because then he'll be able to clear fast more than like 80% of the other gods, just because of that effect of hitting all the minions around him at once instead of just focusing one at a time. And this does 25% of his normal basic attack damage. And with that, so we'll move on to his next ability. Alright, so his one, as you can see here, is called Shifter of Seasons. So basically, he shifts between spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And all of these have different effects on his basic attacks, which is really cool. As you can see down below, it costs no mana whatsoever. And as you see here, I'll cycle through them real quick. Wait. It's instant, and there's really no... There's a little bit of a delay. I was testing out some autos. It's a very small fraction of delay, but there is a slight delay. And for the first effect here for spring, as you can see here, we actually gain a physical life steal. It starts off at 8 and scales up to 20. So as we come over here to this robot, we will see how good this ability actually works. Take some damage here, and we'll start getting some life steal back. So pretty much you can see here, we're getting 26 autos per time right now, which isn't really too bad, nor is it really all too good. Obviously, this really wouldn't replace a lifesteal item such as Aussie or anything like that, but actually what I found out is that this effect actually stacks on top of whatever item you're using. I thought it'd be two separate heals, like let's say you get 60 and a plus 40 or something like that. Actually, so combine those two heals and just say at 100 each time you auto, which I think is actually really cool. Another thing I was thinking of too, which I'll just talk about later in the build, is that if you think about Aussie, I think that Aussie is an amazing item on him, just because. So for Aussie, as you can see here, we get 15% on top of the 25% once we get below the physical threshold. And that's going to be a 40% physical life steal on top of the other 20 from his green passive. Why am I on that wrong? His green passive, which is going to be a total of 60 physical life steal when he's about to die. Now that does sound pretty crazy, honestly, in my opinion. I don't know how well this works. I haven't really tested it out yet, but if it works, you'd be getting around 2 to like 250 life steal per auto attack, as long as you're doing some decent damage. Like let's say you build pen, or maybe even a crit build. If you build crit, you're gonna be getting like 3 to 400 easily, depending on how much you crit for, obviously. So that's the spring stage of said ability. On to the next stage here, we do have summer, and summer is pretty cool. It gives you like a chin size active, pretty much. As you can see here, we'll be hitting for 49 each time extra damage, which is awesome. So I was testing it out. We'll test out chin size real quick here. Chin size is an optional item, I would say, you can build. On this item belt, as you can see here, the base damage is a lot higher on your one, but then when you go over here to the robot, which actually has protections, the chin size actually does do more damage. As you see here, it does 8 more damage each time. So obviously you could still build chin size on this god. I don't think it'd be a problem at all. You'd be getting like 88 more damage per auto depending, unless you have a executioner, then that will vary, obviously. So honestly, I feel like you might be able to go chin size as well, and this is kind of shaping up to be the basic build in my own opinion. I was testing out crit, and crit might actually be better than this, but again, we'll talk about that later. And then his next buff here for autumn is actually a debuff that lasts 5 seconds. As you see here, I'll go up to it. It has a pretty cool looking effect. It's like a reddish and orange effect. Basically, it just shreds their physical protections, and you'll see the scaling here. So summer heat went from 5 to 25, by the way, plus 33 scaling. with these items, so it's not really too high of a scaling, but I mean, that's not too bad. And then the autumn decay goes from 5 up to 25 physical protections, which obviously if you're facing a squishy, that's going to do quite a bit. As you can see here, the first auto automatically goes from 181 to 218. So it's already doing around 30 or 40 more damage. So that's already pretty good, and that's even without Executioner or Ichabod. So if you had Ichabod, that would probably be going up another 20%. So really, you'll be chunking people with Executioner. I think Executioner is going to be like a must on this guy. And then on to the next season here, we also now have Winter. And I'm sure as a lot of you may already have guessed it, this just plainly slows the enemy for 1 second. Nothing really too special. Obviously, if you obviously, if you keep hitting autos on a person, that's going to do quite a bit of effect on them. But nothing really too special. But it's a really good effect to it, I think. I like having that idea of being able to slow somebody, maybe if they're a little bit too fast. And then on to the next ability here, we have is 2, which as you can see here is called Bramble Blast. And basically, this acts like Souls 2. So if you throw it out somewhere, basically the first target that it hits, it will stop right at, and it also roots the person, slows them by 20%, and ticks 10 times for the scaling that you will see right here. So 200 plus 130 just these items. So the scaling on this 2 is really good. This will pretty much be your main source of clear in my opinion. And as well as the root's only 1 second, which isn't too great. You'll probably only get about 3 or 4 ticks depending on where you hit it. See, like, you can hit it over there and you can still hit somebody, but then obviously they'll be pretty close to the side. But the slow will obviously always hit on whoever's inside of it. And then on to the next ability here is just simply a dash, but this actually scales really good. If you're looking at this, it goes from 90 up to 290, and then also plus 140. So really, you'll be doing 430 damage. Obviously, that's without protections. But let's go see here over this Ordinbot. 413, which I think he has like 10 or something like that physical protections. So I mean, that's a pretty high damaging ability. Now, it's probably like a normal person, probably only do like 300. But obviously, you can just use this ability to get away. It does scale down from 17 to 13, which isn't too bad. 17 is a little bit high, so you definitely have to be a little bit careful on how much you use said dash. And then finally, for this ultimate. Well, it's the first time Smite has seen anything like this. So basically, as you see here, it's a big-ass AoE. It takes about a half a second to come down. So anybody that's in the area will turn into a boar for 2 seconds. They cannot auto, and they cannot use any abilities to get away. Yes, that is right. So as you see here by this ability, it's actually about 1 second. And then, as I said, they turn into a boar for 2 seconds, and they're pretty much silenced. They can move around, but it's gonna be very hard for them to obviously escape. And maybe pairing this even with an Odin or something like that, that's going to be nutty. I have not found out yet if you can actually use actives. I wouldn't see why you would not be able to. I think that'd be kind of weird, honestly. But as for the build here, obviously for the main 2, I would probably say Warrior Tabi, just because he really doesn't need movement speed. His autos are going to be hitting like a truck with this, and I think that going Warrior Tabi will probably be the better option here. And then for the next item, this will pretty much be a basic build. Obviously going to Ichabod, unless you're facing a magic, then going to Silver Branch. And then for the next item, depends. If you're really winning lane and you really want to keep being aggressive, definitely go into Hasten Fatalis here. Or if you don't want to do that, that's also fine. And then this is where you can probably pick up Aussie. I clicked that wrong thing. You can pick up Aussie here. Get some pen in, attack speed, and lifesteal, which you can never go wrong with lifesteal. For the next item here, this will be another variant of this build, by the way. For the next item here, you can definitely go into chin size, just to get that extra damage online as well as with your 1, so you can be chucking people for the extra 80 or whatever extra damage you're doing. You can definitely go into Executioner here. Executioner, I know you normally sell for Ichabod, but I was kind of testing this out, and I was just kind of thinking. Since his 3 has a pretty long cooldown, and all of his abilities have pretty long cooldowns, besides his 1, obviously, to sell Ichabod late game, and then go into the Crusher. I know it seems weird, but this does give you physical power, which is awesome, obviously. Attack speed, which is nice. You have 2.03 attack speed with this build, which is, you can't really complain about that, as well as penetration, so we'll have 15 from that, and 50 from that, so we'll have 30 pen, plus the extra shredded protection that we get from Executioner. So we'll also be hitting people like a truck with this. and as well as passive. So basically, whenever you basically attack a god, it will subtract 1 second from all abilities on cooldown, and this will only happen once every 5 seconds. But again, you know, taking off, let's see here, this is 13 seconds, so that could proc twice. Taking off that 2 seconds could easily just, you know, save your life, or maybe having that root up again, 2 seconds off, but that could help you. And then obviously having your ult up faster would be very beneficial. And now for the other build here, I'm going to sell these other base items. Whoop, 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 whoop. Alright, so here now is where it will probably get a little bit different for some of you guys. I actually like going crit, I think, a little bit more on this god personally. But again, I'm just going to Ichabod here. Definitely going to need a life steal item, not ASD. Ichabod here. Sorry, Aussie here. And then we'll go into Wind Demon just to have that amazing effect. And then as well as go into Deathbringer just to get that harder hitting crit by that's increased by 40%. And then we can sell Ichabod late game. And again, there's some things you can do here. If you're having a little bit hard time sticking to your enemies, I would recommend probably getting Hasten Fatalis actually before Aussie. But if you're having a fine time with it, then definitely go into Hasten Fatalis later on. If you don't think Hasten Fatalis gives you, you know, 10 extra pen, which is, you know, it's weird on this item, honestly, but that 10 pen does honestly a lot, as well as the movement speed and attack speed that it gives you, and as well as the the movement speed debuff whenever you're autoing. That just helps you stick down to your enemies, especially with, you know, you have that slow effect and a root on here. There's like no way your enemies are going to escape you, plus your dash and your ult. So I mean, this god honestly is going to have great gank potential if he is jungling. I think personally, I think his jungling will probably be better than his ADC, just because he has a root that can last 1 second and he can transform people. So basically you can do that and then cast out your ult and they'll be transformed and stuck in here taking tick damage from this, not really being able to escape. And then obviously if you have a soul laner or mid laner, they can just, you know, bounce right on top of it. That's been it, guys. If you guys liked the video, make sure you guys drop a like, comment down what you guys thought, if you guys maybe like the builds. I know the builds will not be final, I'll just tell you that. It's just I was testing around with it, and not even this build is like complete, really. I'll probably test around with this and maybe post another build video later on. And well, that's been it, guys. Make sure you guys also subscribe. We're 1 away from 100, so it's awesome. Make sure you guys share the video as well. Everything really matters. And that's been it, guys. Have a great day. Peace.